Welcome to the Beyond Physio Podcast, where we help you move, excel, and inspire others on your journey to your next level with knowledge and advice from experts and testimonials from our like-minded community. Mike, thank you so much for coming on to our success story little caption here. I want to just ask you some questions about kind of like what life was like before you came to see us for physical therapy, what sports you do, what kind of injuries you had, how you dealt with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I have to give a little bit of backstory that I really had a transformation in my life. From August 2020 till December 2020, I lost 60 pounds. I kind of really committed myself to a lot more holistic health in my life, from nutrition to just exercise, and being really focused on just being healthy for the long term. And in that process, I just fell in love with running. I certainly played some sports early in my life, but it was definitely not as physically active, even though I was doing F3 3 or 4 times a week. I just was kind of, doing the bare minimum. And so it was in this time that I really started focusing on exercise and running in particular. And as I lost weight, I sort of found myself being fast.
Yes, very fast.
And relatively speaking. And so I was really clueless about how I was approaching this. It was just, my whole mentality was just to go as far and as fast as I can every single day.
Wow.
And that was obviously leading to some injuries and some form issues, and just a lot of it was just learn as I go. But I just it was kind of like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, but just keep on plowing through.
Man.
And so eventually I ran my first marathon that was April of 2022.
Yeah.
And that was the Tobacco Road Marathon.
Yes.
And in that I qualified for Boston.
Amazing.
And so I went to run Boston. But in that process, that's when I had my first really bad glute flare up.
That was what it was. Okay.
And tied in with that was some other things on the right side of my body. And so that really prompted my first trip here. Yeah. And really that's what I've been kind of managing to some degree since then, but definitely a lot of improvement.
That's amazing. So, Mike, what was it that actually got you on that path to that transformation? Because I think everyone has a lot of different reasons why they start anything, especially when it comes to bettering their health. But was there something that inspired you, or maybe something that made you feel the necessity, urgency to actually take that on?
Yeah, it was a real wake-up call. I mean, in the process of the COVID lockdown, working from home, I just found myself fog eating. I found myself not being as active as I should be. And I stepped on the scale, and I do research in health and physical activity, and I stepped on the scale, and I was a 29.9 BMI. And it kind of had snuck up on me that I was, even though BMI is not the best measure of body mass and healthy weight, but it still was a wake-up call that I'm 1/10 of a point away from the obese range. And that was kind of something's got to change.
That's amazing. And during that time, were you already with F3?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you were? Okay, got it.
Yeah. I've been with F3 now for over 10 years.
Oh, so you're like an OG as well? Like
correct.
Back in the day.
Wow. Really but before Carpex actually existed. So,
oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, but again, I think it was a real lesson to me in that, you can't outrun your diet.
I love that line.
And so, as active as I was, if I wasn't matching that with really holistic health and like making sure what I was putting into my body wasn't kind of at that same level, then that it just wasn't, I was just spinning my wheels.
Yes, right. So not only did you transform as far as activity level, but you also made some very big changes in your nutrition, which was helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was everything from just portion control and making sure that what I was eating was as healthy as possible. I was cutting out a lot of the just empty calorie snacks, and really it was learning about the nutrition side and like calorie density and learning about just our psychological connections with food, that process and that structure. Once I got the understanding and once I got the discipline involved, it really became easy for me to eat healthy. So.
That's awesome. And now it's been several years that you kept everything off and you've actually increased your activity levels, which has been awesome to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely, as the weight came off, it became easier to be active. It became easier running. And as I've learned how to be a better runner and learn how to do those other things, I mean, you can't just go out and run every day. You've got to do the strength. You've got to do the stretching, things like that. And as I've learned that, it's made me not only be a more productive athlete, but also I can do it better.
Yes, yes, for sure. And your times have been amazing for, I think it's 3:10, 3:09 or something like that.
3:09:54 by latest. So.
Wow, that's incredible. So, Mike, tell me about as far as like different issues that you dealt with before you saw us. Had you ever seen a physical therapist before? And if so, what was that like?
Yeah, I've had seen physical therapists before, and honestly, I'm very supportive of the practice because even at the time, I was like, I was never one of those people like I'm just going to deal with this on my own and not go to a doctor. And I'm reading enough research about how men don't go to doctors, don't go to things like that,
true.
and the kind of implications of that has always meant that I've always been very attuned to that. And so I definitely have gone, and they've all served their purpose for me in the sort of the micro sense that hey, here's an issue, let's fix this and get you back out running or get you back. And again, very, very much was positive.
Yeah.
It just, one of those things where when I got the chance to come here, it was just a very different experience in terms of the holistic approach. And let's really get to the root of what's causing this. And that was not something I had seen before.
Yeah. It's funny because I would say that most of the patients that we see often say that before I came to Next Level, I went to physical therapy and thought I had a good experience. And they did fix the things that were sort of bothering me, but they would either keep coming back or they didn't incorporate what they were fixing into what I actually wanted to get back to. So there was this frustration sometimes of our higher level people like yourself or runners, triathletes, hybrid athletes, where it's like, yeah, I can do the band stuff and I can do the light weights, but I didn't really feel pushed. I didn't feel like they actually told me what was really going on. And that level of frustration, I think for a lot of people was enough that I need to try something different. And that's why they came to us.
Yeah, I would agree with that in a sense. I think I was sort of at a level where I'm just trying to do enough exercise to stay healthy. I think it was fine. I think when I made the decision, I want to be faster. I want to be a competitor.
Pushing the performance.
I need to understand kind of why this is happening so I can solve it in the long term.
Yeah, that's great. So it sounds like then, since you've been under care for different things over the course of the year, that you've been able to maintain that high level of performance and training.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, it's been a situation where when I first got injured, it was a real injury.
Yeah.
And it took some time. And again, the time between really after Blue Ridge Relay in 2022, so in October, all the way up until probably early February of 2023, before I ran Boston in April. I was really nursing and working, coming in multiple times a week to try to work on this issue. Once we got through that, obviously I had an Achilles flare up during that process during that time too. But once we got through that, now as going through the exercises, I haven't had those come back at that level.
Good.
Like I've a few minor things here or there that I need to be seen for, but it's usually one time we get it fixed up. We add in some new exercises, and it hasn't been like this real long-term injury thing.
Yeah, that's great. So it's like, I would say that a lot of our clients who are in their phase 3, where they are at your level, Mike, where they've gone back into their activity, what we love to do in that part of our rehab is say, hey, listen, we're just going to be here to spot check things, and the little knickknacks that you've gotten over the course of the year, we're able to do sort of one-off kinds of things and get you back out. Meanwhile, the root cause that we dealt with has still been dealt with, which is great. And so we expect that people who are performing at a high level may have some things along their journey getting back to those high level things, that they'll have little flare-ups here and there, but that's also part of the sort of risk reward of trying to push that level of performance.
Right. It's those times where I realize I'm 50 years old, right? And I'm doing things that other 50-year-olds can't do. So I expect that there's going to be some things here or there. And so it's easy not to get super frustrated by it.
That's awesome. So, Mike, as far as what life has been like after, it sounds like you've been able to get back to things that you've been able to do, which is great. For any maybe F3 guys who are listening in, or any guys out there and gals who might be on the fence about coming to see us for whatever reason that might be, what's one thing that you might tell them to sort of think about if they're looking for the best physical therapy care as a runner or a hybrid athlete?
Yeah, again, I go back to this holistic approach thing, because as you want to stay healthy and you want to be able to push yourself a little bit more to add in exercise, or just to do the exercises and live the lifestyle you need to be healthy, to age in a healthy way,
gracefully,
as we all want to do,
Yeah.
then I think that this is the place to come in terms of like addressing like, what kind of nutrients are you getting in?
Right.
What does your nutrition look like? What does your sleep look like? Now that's all part of this process. It's not just let's fix this one thing.
Yeah.
Let's understand kind of you as a person and what we need to do as part of this process to keep you healthy. So then you can go do the activities you need to do so you can be even healthier as you age.
Yeah, Mike, that was said beautifully. So thank you so much for that. So, Mike, if there are like one or two words that come to mind for when you think about our care, our working with our team, what's one or two words that might come to mind?
That's a great question. I mean, definitely holistic. I've used that
Yeah.
word several times because, again, it is that idea of looking at the whole person rather than the injury. I also would like to say, friendly. And again, I recommended my daughter who broke her ankle,
Yeah.
needed some PT before she went to college. And I was like, here's where you need to go. And for those reasons, they're going to, in a very short time before you have to leave, they're going to look at this and say, all right, what are the things we need to do in the time we have to get you ready for the next steps?
Yeah.
But also it's a place I can feel comfortable that she's going to go and like be taken care of. So.
That's a big compliment. If you're sending your kids or your loved ones to us and they've had to experience, then I think we're doing the right thing, which is good.
It's good.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Thanks so much for tuning into today's episode. It really does mean a lot to us. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, or comment if you got at least one or two helpful insights or takeaways to help you get to your next level.